A very good evening and welcome to Reuters Nightly News on RTB News. I'm Adam Reed in London, bringing you the top stories today from around the world. On tonight's show, probing for answers, Trump's son and aides to testify on Russia meeting at Senate hearing. Great Firewall of China, Beijing gets tougher on filtering foreign internet sites. And Dreamtime Discovery, the new find that dates the arrival of humans in Australia back 65,000 years. But first, though, to our top story. Members of Donald Trump's campaign team will testify before a Senate committee on their controversial meeting with a Russian lawyer during last year's election campaign. Donald Trump Jr., son-in-law Jared Kushner and campaign manager Paul Manafort will have to answer accusations they were trying to collude with the Russian government. The scandal is continuing to dog the president, who now says he wouldn't have appointed Jeff Sessions as Attorney General if he knew Sessions would recuse himself from the Russia investigation. Grace Lee reports. Democrats and Republicans briefly put aside their differences today to express support for Senator John McCain, who's been diagnosed with brain cancer. The 80-year-old is reviewing treatment options that may include a combination of chemotherapy and radiation. McCain received words of support from across the spectrum, including from Barack Obama, the man who, of course, defeated him in the 2008 presidential election. But President Park was not in court today. She exercised her right to presidential immunity, instead issuing a brief prepared statement which was read out by her advisors, and it basically said she did not advance her own interests and also never received improper requests from Samsung or any other companies. Only 3 wins from 8 games for Gareth Southgate as England manager. It was a battling draw against Scotland and the France game was what it was. But how's he doing, in your view, of getting his message across as England manager of how he wants to take this team forward?
I think it's a work in progress. I think Gareth Southgate has got a very good nucleus of players.
Such is the success that Lincoln have had this season. These fans are actually queuing for tickets in another cup competition with a chance to get to Wembley. They've been allocated 9,000 for the game against Arsenal, with the club saying they probably could have sold that twice over. Just to put that into context, their Sincil Bank ground behind me can only hold just over 10,000, meaning the magic of the cup has really captured the imagination of the fans. A crowd of over 22,000 were in the Cardiff City Stadium on Thursday night to see Lyon record back-to-back trebles. Attention now turns to the men's final, where Juventus in this stadium behind me will be going for a treble of their own. Standing in their way, of course, are the defending champions, Real Madrid.
You know, it helps obviously that we have a good relationship because you know, we do have to spend all our days together, yeah.
Well, I have to ask you, because the seed was planted earlier this week. Your mum has been talking and saying that Andy and you may team up one day at a Grand Slam, maybe even here at Wimbledon. So now the seed has been planted, everyone's wondering, will it happen and when will it happen?
Yeah, I think one day we might try to play at Wimbledon. Look, it might happen, it might not.
So, spending over the course of January reached a 6-year high in the Premier League, with sides in England's top flight actually making a profit for the first time in the transfer window. Now, that was largely helped by the sale of players like Oscar from Chelsea to Chinese Super League club Shanghai SIPG for a fee of around $75 million. And of course, Watford's Odion Ighalo, he made a similar move to Changchun Yatai on deadline day. Also making the trip to the Far East is, of course, Carlos Tevez. Shanghai Shenhua's new striker is now reportedly the world's highest paid player. Now, as we've heard, one of the highest profile departures from the Premier League was Dimitri Payet. He went back to Marseille for a second spell, but in terms of transfers between Premier League clubs, Morgan Schneiderlin tops the list. Over the course of the next month, 2.5 million fans are expected to fill 10 stadiums for 51 matches around France. An extra 1 million foreign visitors are expected around the country, with officials hoping that 90,000 extra security staff are enough to keep the tournament safe. So here we are, just seconds after the final whistle. French fans are still singing. The Marseillaise ringing out loudly, but it's not the result they wanted. 1-0 they lost in the end to Portugal. In the second half of extra time. And Anthony Joshua has quite literally smashed through every opponent so far in his professional career, of course taking him to a world title. Another victory to add to his unblemished record on Saturday at Wembley Stadium, just a few hundred yards away from where this public workout is taking place at Wembley Arena, will take his career to a whole new level.
Okay, Adam, you're up.
Well, not a bad effort to get going with. Let's see how the amateur goes. And a left footer, I might add.
Perfect.
What's the appeal really for anyone that wants to take it up?
Well, I think the appeal is in the simplicity of the game. I mean, you know, it combines the two favourite sports of football and golf. Technically, it's easier than golf. And the great thing about the game is anybody can play it, you know. So without doing myself a disservice, it's quite simple to play. I'm just going to play it to the bottom level of the slope and then really chance my arm and try and make birdie from the bottom of the slope.
Get up, get up. Oh, he's not, is he?
Wow.
Never in doubt, was it?
Never in doubt.
Easy sport.
Yeah,
I don't know what your fuss is about.
You could be European champion in 2 months' time.
All seems a little bit quiet now, but you can expect a lot more noise on November the 5th when a sellout crowd of 2,000 will cram in here to Mersthams Moatside Stadium for one of the most historic days in the football calendar.
And in a one-off game, anything can happen. Merstham warmed up for the big day in a slightly less prestigious cup competition seen by a crowd of just 154. But those in attendance will have certainly left feeling happy with their team.
So a narrow but entertaining 4-3 win for Merstham in their final home game before their FA Cup date with Oxford United. And another performance like this will mean their historic run continues.